was divided into 18 companies. Transmission was left alone as an entity of its own, and the remaining other 17 companies were sold. Transmission was handed over to a management company, which is to manage it for a period of 4 years. And within this period, I can tell you, there was no single audit that was carried out on transmission, no single audit. And no single investment was brought into transmission. So this period that I'm telling you, TCN became the weakest link in the power sector value chain. We came in February 2017 through the intervention of the current president, who asked us to come. I used to be a staff of African Development Bank. And I can tell you from that time to date, we have commissioned more transformers, more than what was done in the previous 10 years. And at the same time, I can also tell you that we have raised investment to expand the grid and stabilize the transmission infrastructure. We believe that what we are working on to make the grid at least 20,000 megawatt by 2021. So this is what we are doing. And I can tell you that all the elements that we are supposed to do to make transmission work, we have put in place, and we have all the support and the encouragement of the government. For the first time, everything we are doing, we are allowed and we are given free hand to do what we are supposed to do. And you recall that we met about 800 containers that were stranded in the port. Some of those containers has been there for over 15 years. Some of them have been auctioned. We had to, in fact, the first 5 months, I could not remove anything from the port. But eventually, we are able to work very hard. I can tell you, as at last week, we have removed 708 containers out of the 800 containers. And we have encouraged TCN engineers to install sub-transformers and equipment. What we discovered that several of the contracts we used to give in the past, especially for equipment that we have already imported, we give to contractors. We discovered that it's TCN engineers that used to install them. So they will ask our engineers to work in weekend to help them. So we say, why can't we just encourage our engineers to do it directly? And that is why we are building substation by ourselves now. I can tell you, for the first time in the history of TCN, we are building a substation even on an island. There's an island called Elisha in Lagos. We are building a substation there. And the cost estimate of that substation, if we are to give it to a contractor, is about 1 billion. But we have spent not less than 100 million. And the project is 95% completed. So this is the way we are working, and that's why we are changing things.
So the story has indeed changed from what you have told us now. But are we comfortable to assume transmission linkages have increased frequency to facilitate more power from the generation plant or generating plants? Thank
you very much. You know, to stabilize the grid and make the grid a modern grid, we need to do 4 things. 4 things. There are so many other small things that we need to do, but the 4 important milestones that we need to achieve are: 1, frequency control. I want to tell you that we achieved frequency control of 49.5 and 50.5 Hz. That is in June 2017. I can tell you this has not been achieved in the history of the country in the last 20 years. The second thing we need to achieve is what you call spinning reserve. If you check our daily broadcast, the spinning reserve is either 40 or 0. I can tell you also we have advertised for spinning reserve, and we are doing the evaluation now. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that we are having procurement of spinning reserve. And we are going to deploy adequate spinning reserve to stabilize the grid. The next thing we need to have is what we call SCADA. SCADA is the supervisory control and data acquisition. Nigeria has attempted to have SCADA 3 times, and 3 times we are not successful. Everything that we are supposed to do to ensure that this SCADA this time around work, we have put in place. In fact, we just did an international conference on SCADA, where we brought power grid from 3 power grid across the world, plus all the original equipment manufacturers. So we are putting a SCADA that will work, and we have the funding from the World Bank. The next thing we need to do is to put what we call critical investment in lines and substation. Now, all the lines that are not working, we are fixing them. Let me give you an example. The line between Alauji and Uweri, Iheala, Onitsha is the weakest in the link now. This line was awarded by the previous regime to a company, indigenous Nigerian company. That contract has failed. Now we are going to award that contract, and African Development Bank is financing that contract. And we are going to award it, and we are going to build a quad line between Alauji and Onitsha, which will significantly stabilize the grid. Now, for us to do that, we need to reconductor Enugu to Onitsha. Now, the contract was awarded several years, but the equipment were in the port. They are part of the equipment we have recovered from the port now, and now we are going to kickstart the contract so that we reconductor the line. And this is what we are doing all over the country. So for us, we are on track, and the donors that are supporting us are also seeing different way of doing things, because we have introduced what we call advanced procurement. This has never happened in the history of Nigeria. Advanced procurement will help you shorten the length of time you spend in implementation of donor-funded projects.
Okay, now speak freely, actually, on the current expansion and rehabilitation program of a TCN.
Yeah, we are using, that's investment in the critical lines and substation that we are doing. And the first thing we are doing is that we encourage TCN engineers to install all the transformers that we recover from the port and those that are sitting in our substation. And I can tell you, we have done a lot. If I give you an example, we have done 60 megawatt in MVA in Aba. We have done 40 in Umahia. We have done 60 in Uyo. We have done 60 in Zaria. We have done 40 in Funtua. That's what we do all over the country. These are TCN engineers doing the installation, not contractors. We have also helped contractors that are willing to work with us to complete their project. And I can tell you, under that process, that's how we completed Kukwaba. We helped the contractor to complete. We have not told the contractor to pay us, but at least we have completed the project.
We have achieved the objective.
Now, some contracts that are not working also, we have gone in to cancel them. And that's how we are able to complete Damatru. Damatru was awarded in 2006, for information, with a contract period of 18. We have finished the contract now. We put our engineers there and we say, you have no holiday, you have to finish. And that's how we finish Meduguri. Both Meduguri and Damatru now, they are energized on 3:30.
No, okay, now, we don't have time on our side at the moment, but I want to answer this question just in 10 seconds or thereabout. You are the chairman of the West African Power Pool Agreement. What does that mean, and how does Nigeria benefit from
the West African Power Pool is just like any other trades. We are supposed to export energy to those areas where there's demand. For information, Nigeria has a comparative advantage in terms of generation, meaning we can generate least cost per kilowatt hour than any other country in West Africa. So we are supposed to generate electricity and sell to them. So, and that is what the West African Power Pool was created. And as we speak with you, we are selling energy to Benin and Togo. We are also selling energy to Niger. But we are also expanding this capacity to move to supply energy up to Cote d'Ivoire, up to Senegal. But we are also trying to step away from the way we have been doing business before. Because before we do government to government, we are now encouraging generators to intercontract with the people who need it, so that we remove government out of the system, so that it will become more efficient and become more business-like. And that's what we are moving.
All right, thank you very much indeed for educating us on the development in the power sector, especially in the transmission aspect of the power value chain. I have been speaking with Osman Gur Mohammed, who is the managing director of the transmission company of Nigeria. Thank you indeed for coming to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Next will be sports. Don't go away.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome.
You take that one.
Yeah, take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobo to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, now let's get a bit of sports from our Lagos studios.
The board of the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation has proposed 8th February 2019 as the new date for the World Rank Nigeria International Open. The board said the decision is necessary in order to give African athletes, especially Nigerians, ample time to get required documents for the games.
We didn't see any reason why we should hold our first ever event, world ranked event here, and the world ranking points will now go to foreign countries, and many of our people won't benefit.
The Nigerian amputee football team on Friday left Nigeria for Mexico to participate at the 2018 Amputee World Cup. The team, which finally made the trip having missed previous edition with a kind gesture from spirited Nigerians, is drawn in Group E alongside Russia, Brazil and El Salvador.
We are facing Brazil and Russia, the two defending champions, and we are going to surprise the world.
I believe they are up to the task to make Nigerian proud.
10 states featured at the 6th edition of the Para Soccer Tournament, which took place in Lagos to create awareness on the need to kick out polio as the world marked World Polio Day. Kaduna State emerged champion of the week-long event after beating four-time champions Kano Pillars 6-3.
Nigeria is about to be out of polio endemic country. We are celebrating our exit in the polio endemic countries of the world.
All is now set for the 2018-2019 Women National Basketball League season to commence on October 28 in two regions, Enugu and Abuja. Speaking at a media briefing in Lagos, the Vice President of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Babs Ogunade, said due to the peculiarities of this season, the league will be abridged with 19 teams featuring.
It's round robin in their conferences. So if you don't qualify, you don't qualify. So I'm hoping that this will excite the teams.
The winners and first runners-up will represent Nigeria at the FIBA Zone 3 Women Championship qualifiers in Cotonou in November. With sports updates, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
Now, weather outlook for tomorrow is next.
Hi, welcome to the weather forecast. I am Onyelo Desmond. We are witnessing what is arguably the last rains before the onset of the Harmattan dust haze. Prospects of rains are still high come Sunday. There are chances of thunderstorms and rains to affect the eastern flank in the morning. This may extend to parts of Benue and Taraba. Morning thunderstorms are also likely over Kwara, Yelwa, and Bida axis. By afternoon and late evening, there are chances of parts of the country from the north down to the south having thunderstorm and rainfall activities. These activities are precursors to the dryness that will soon ensue and the attendant dust haze that will follow thereafter. But we'll keep you updated as events unfold. I leave you with the temperature forecast.
All right, and that's our show for today. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Now he really can't wake me for death. As my matter be, it be like he say, person die, person God he can't wake up.